It's been exactly a week since President Trump sent that first tweet calling on 4 Democratic members of Congress, all women of color, all citizens, to go back to the countries they came from. Every day since dominated by the debate and division the president unleashed. Raw, racist politics. It's a tactic Trump has deployed so many times before. The reaction predictable, too. Outraged Democrats passed a House resolution condemning the remarks. Elected Republicans, embarrassed in private, publicly backed the president. Trump's base, exemplified by that Thursday night crowd in North Carolina, excited.
Omar has a history of launching vicious anti-Semitic screeds.
Under fire the next day, the president said he wasn't happy with that chant, but you can see for yourself how he reacted in the moment. And by week's end, he was continuing to claim that Congresswomen hate America while calling his chanting crowd incredible patriots. Trump's racial battle lines are drawn. The question now, how will all of us, Republicans, Democrats, the press, and the public respond? And we begin this morning with the chair of the House Oversight Committee, Congressman Elijah Cummings. Congressman, thank you for joining us this morning. I know you said the events this week reminded you of 1962. You're 12 years old, trying to integrate a pool in Baltimore.
That's right, George. We were trying to integrate a Olympic-sized pool near my house, and we had been constrained to a wading pool in the black community, and we tried to integrate it, and as we did march towards that pool over a course of 6 days, I was beaten and all kinds of rocks and bottles thrown at me. And the interesting thing is that I heard the same kind of chants. Go home, you don't belong here. And they called us the N-word over and over and over again. And George, I got to tell you that I'm not the only person of color who has had those kind of experiences. And what it does when Trump does these things, when the president does these things, it brings up the same feelings that I had over 50-some years ago. And it's very, very painful. It's extremely divisive. And I just don't think that this is becoming of the President of the United States of America, the leader of the entire world. We can do better than that. I don't care what anybody says. And I think our Republican friends have to stand up and say, not that just that it might be inappropriate. No, they got to go further than that and say, Mr. President, you're absolutely wrong.
You know, the president's doubling down. This morning, he has a new tweet out this morning taking on the squad, those 4 Democratic congresswomen. He says, quote, I don't believe the 4 congresswomen are capable of loving our country. They should apologize to America and Israel for the horrible, hateful things they have said. They are destroying the Democratic Party, but are weak and insecure people who can never destroy our great nation, not capable of loving our country.
I take issue with that. I know, keep in mind, that Ms. Tlaib, Ms. Presley, Ms. Ocasio-Cortez, they're on my committee. So I interact with them every day. And, of course, I interact a lot with Ms. Omar. These are folks and women who love their country. And they work very hard, and they want to move us towards that more perfect union that our founding fathers talked about. And so when you disagree with the president, suddenly you're a bad person. Our allegiance is not to the president. Our allegiance is to the Constitution of the United States of America and the American people. And I'm going to tell you, these are some of the most brilliant young people that I have met, and I am honored to serve with them.
The president is determined to make that squad the face of the Democratic Party right now. We've seen some pretty ugly politics this week, but are you worried that it might work for the president and his party?
No, I'm not worried at all, because I know that what it is doing, too, is for the people who want to see our democracy intact. Those people despise these kind of words and hate them. And for every person that was saying those kinds of chants and feel the way that the president feels, there are probably 2 or 3 for every one of them who feel just the opposite. George, no matter where I go, what I'm hearing over and over again is from my constituents is please save our democracy. Please save our country. And you know something else they say, George? They say I'm scared. And I've never, in my total of 37 years in public service, ever heard a constituent say that they were scared of their leader.
Scared of their leader? Scared of the President of the United States?
Of the President of the United States. That's exactly right.
Do you believe President Trump is a racist?
And I've been in politics 37 years. Go ahead. What'd you say?
Do you believe President Trump is a racist?
I believe he is. Yes, no doubt about it. And I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt. But I got to tell you, George, let me tell you, I get even when I think about what he said to these young ladies who are merely trying to bring excellence to government and trying to make sure that generations yet unborn have an opportunity to experience a true democracy. When I hear those things, it takes me back, like I said, and I can still remember bleeding from my forehead when people were throwing bottles, and these were adults, throwing bottles and saying, "Go home," and it just. I can't, and again, the president has to set the tone. He needs to be a role model. I would say to the president right now, Mr. President, we want you to be a role model. We want somebody in that White House who our children can be proud of, who our children can emulate, who our children will look up to. And that is not the kind of example that you're setting. And I'm telling you, Mr. President, you and we, our nation is better than that.
You clearly support the squad, those members of Congress, but have they made it harder for Democrats to focus on the issues? You had to call out Congresswoman Tlaib when she called one of your fellow Republicans on the House Oversight Committee a racist. House Democrats had to pass a resolution distancing themselves from Congresswoman Omar's comments that were seen as anti-Semitic. Are they making it harder for Democrats to focus on the issues?
Not really. I think what is happening, and I've talked to all of them, and I think those are kind of instances that you just mentioned do present a distraction at times. But I realize that they are coming into a body that they've never served in before. But they come in with common sense and with a commitment to do the right thing. And so, again, they live and they learn. And that's part of life.
Do they have to tone it down? Have you advised them to do that?
I've told them they could say the things they say, but they got to say it in a different way. There's a way of saying things. You'll rarely hear me say the word racist. You will never hear me call somebody a liar, for example. And the reason why I don't is I know how people take things. They get so caught up in the tone or in the language that they don't even hear the message.
But you did just say that President Trump is a racist.
That's my point is what I'm trying to point out to you is that's very significant. Now, and again, George, I know what it feels like to be at the other end of those kinds of comments. And I see what's happening in our country with hate crimes going up, and we're getting more and more people being emboldened with making racist statements and treating people badly. And that's not the way we should be. We need to be working with each other and together. I tell my constituents, our diversity is not our problem. It is our promise.
Congressman Cummings, thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Let's get a response now from the Trump campaign. Mercedes Schlapp, senior advisor, joins us now. And Mercedes, thank you for joining us this morning. I want to get you to respond to Congressman Cummings. He says President Trump is a racist.
Look, I have worked with President Trump for 2 years, and he is not a racist. He's a compassionate man whose policies have focused on the minority community. I mean, you look at the fact that the president has pushed and implementing the opportunity zones. That helps low-income, distressed communities across the country, including Baltimore. You look at the fact that the unemployment numbers for African Americans is at its lowest, for Hispanics at its lowest. I mean, he is a results-oriented president who is focused on helping uplift all Americans including blacks, including Hispanics. And I have to say, I've been with him in the room with all these different communities, and he does stay focused on ensuring that we're implementing the right policies for all Americans.
Mercedes, we also saw him in that room in North Carolina this week, 13 seconds as the crowd chanted, "Send her back." And you actually retweeted a tweet from Ben Shapiro, which said those chants are disgusting. So it seems like you're at odds with the president. You had a different reaction to that chant.
Not at all. The president disavowed the chant. The president made it clear that he wasn't happy with the chant, and he disagreed with it. I think at the end of the day, we all stand.
Hold on a second. Let me just stop you there. Where did the president make it clear that he wasn't happy with the chant in that moment? I'm going to roll it again, and we can roll it as you're watching.
He made it clear in the press conference that he had the day afterwards.
The next day, he said he wasn't happy with it. He didn't show it in the moment. And this
well, I mean, you all can make that analysis, and I'm sure you've been to a Trump rally. There's a lot of emotion. There's a lot going on. He continued with his speech. He made it very clear the next day that he was not happy with the chant. But what I'm unhappy about are the chants of the squad, the chants of anti-American, anti-Semitic chants that they push forward. The fact that when you look at the squad being the new Democrat leadership, and the fact that even many of these Democrats are concerned. Even Congressman Cummings said that he's concerned with their race, just calling freely people racist, calling people, making anti-Semitic remarks, being that a distraction. Many of these Democrats are concerned that the squad is now the new Democrat leadership. I mean, even for them, the squad, to imply that Nancy Pelosi was a racist, that even the president came out and said that was disrespectful. So they have to be very careful when they're painting half of America as being racist. That is very problematic. And we cannot use that term very loosely.
And you did hear Chairman Cummings there say he does think they have to learn to talk about things in a different way. But you keep talking about how the president disavowed the chant. Just yesterday, and I want to show it up on the screen right now, he sent around a tweet from a woman named Katie Hopkins, which says the new campaign slogan for 2020 is "Don't love it, leave it, send her back" is the new "Lock her up." Well done to Team Trump. The president retweeted that tweet yesterday. That doesn't sound like he's disavowing the chant.
Look, he made it very clear that he disagreed with the chant. And I will tell you, he stands with those people in North Carolina across the country who support him. And why? Because they love America. They know that the president is fighting for them every day. And it's African Americans, it's Hispanics, it's women, it's men. I've been to those rallies. I've been to those events where they say, I love this country. I love the American flag. What are you seeing on the other side? You're seeing the squad dictating the rules of the Democratic Party, which is very clear that they're pushing forward, you know, very disturbing statements.
It sounds like
they're calling our Border Patrol agents Nazis. They're calling our detention centers concentration camps. Omar herself has come out with very anti-Semitic remarks, basically saying to legislators that you have dual loyalty. That is problematic. And I think that that is where you see the Democrat Party in disarray, where these Democratic presidential candidates are going to have to kiss the ring of the squad because they are the new voices of the Democrat Party, and that should be concerning.
You said the crowd in North Carolina loves our country. The president has said that those members of Congress don't love our country. He says they hate America. That's the textbook definition of saying someone is not patriotic.
I mean, I worry. I tell you, my parents came here from Cuba. They fled communism. We know the failed experiments of these very extreme ideologies. And what the squad is promoting is that. They themselves have said that American exceptionalism is exported abroad but not practiced here in America.
The president has said very similar things.
You know what's beautiful,
Mercedes,
George? Can I tell you something? What's so beautiful about America is the fact that we do have freedom of speech, that we're able to have this political discourse. And so for them to be able to just go and attack the president, for them to be able to basically make these comments where they say, let's be compassionate. For example, Omar came out basically writing a letter to a judge saying, let's be compassionate. Let's show compassion to those individuals who are going to plan to join ISIS. That's disturbing to me. When they push forward a government-controlled agenda where that is something that we know could be incredibly destructive to our democracy, That's problematic, George.
That's for your view, but you and the president seem to be saying that if you criticize the United States, conditions in the United States while he's president, that's unpatriotic. The president was roundly criticizing conditions in the United States when he was not president.
Look, it is not, they're fundamentally criticizing the United States when they're pushing forward policies that are basically anti-Semitic, that they're attacking our law enforcement, that they're going where they are being anti-American. That to us is very concerning. We are pushing policies that is that of pushing democracy and freedom in America. When you're pushing a socialist or a communist agenda and you're attacking Americans, that's a problem.
There's no one who's pushed a communist agenda, but we have to end right there. Mercedes Schlapp, thanks very much.